how people can fight back. But I think the fundamental promise has been broken. Like every other institution in America, whether it's the
Yeah.
church, whether it's politics, there was a social contract we had together that you were going to make some profits, but you were going to deliver a product, service was included, and it was going to be good, and you were going to employ people. That was an implicit thing. And if you were going to get savings, yes, take some of it from profit, but pass some of it on to me. But now we've broken that, and
Yeah.
now it's this one-way street where people don't feel as loyal anymore to the brands they do business with.
Ever have an urge to write a scathing review on a company who's provided you horrible customer service? Author and customer service consultant Tenumah joins the podcast to discuss how companies not meeting customer expectations is now the new pandemic in the business world. And we also cover what you can do as a business owner or as a consumer to help fix this. So, let's do it.
Too many days in the darkness without a glimpse of the light. Running tired and broken and scared, but I swear I'll never give up the fight. I see you broken and beat, head pulled down over your eyes. Every part of you wants to surrender, but darling, you were meant to survive. With every star.
Amos, thanks for coming on the podcast today, man.
Hey, good to see you. This is a treat. I'm so glad you have me on.
No, it's awesome. I'm excited to talk about the topic we are today because you do something, you solve a problem that I feel like is an open secret in society right now that everyone kind of knows about. We used to complain about right after COVID, especially like openly and out loud, but now we've kind of, I feel like, unfortunately accepted the problem, and you're here trying to solve that problem. You're the only one I feel like saying, no, this isn't the new standard. This isn't the new standard. And for the listeners who don't know or who haven't heard of your work yet, can you kind of introduce really what it is that you do and try to tackle?
Yeah, I've spent the last 20 plus years helping companies, your favorite brands, fix customer service, customer support, and their overall customer experience. I do keynotes. I've written 4 books. My latest book, Waiting for Service. I had an interesting conversation on NPR and on Fox Business. So it's a topic that's been near and dear to my heart. By trade, I'm an engineer. I've also worked in customer service and all parts of it. So my whole life's work has been about how do we help companies do better by their customers, right? And then lately I've started helping consumers to teach them, what goes on behind the scenes in customer service, so that if I can help the companies and I can help the public, maybe we can figure out this customer service thing, because I've been at it for over 20 years.
The topic, to get more specifically, the customer service aspect, I'm sure has just went on fire. That whole topic has become on fire in the last couple of years, just due to the COVID dip and then people getting out of COVID with the thought of, okay, I can finally go back to the stores. I can finally do this, do that. And I feel like companies, just in my view, I want to get your thoughts on really what the problem is now, that companies saw, okay, we don't have to provide this customer service during COVID. And then when we got out of COVID, I kind of felt like they still tried to hold on to a little bit of those costs from improving their customer service, let alone people obviously too, struggling with providing good customer service, and customers also coming in and giving a little bit of a harder time to customer service workers. But from your inside scoop, really, what are you seeing as kind of the root problem right now with customer service and with companies and consumers?
So Daniel, this started way before COVID, right? So way before COVID, organizations were going down the road of, we don't want to pay human beings to deal with you, right? This is why you had the touch screens, the press 1, press 2. That was happening way before COVID. COVID happened, and it was, even if we wanted to give you a human, we couldn't, legitimate reasons. So we're going to throw more and more technology, right? You don't get a menu anymore. You're going to scan your camera.
Yeah.
There's no one. We have short staff due to COVID. And then companies wrongly thought that we as consumers will accept this forever. So during COVID, we all going through this together. We had a lot of grace for that then. Now that we are now in this stage of our journey where companies are telling people to come back to work, there's this dissonance between how are you telling me to come back to the office, yet there's no one answering the phones, there's no one providing service. And this is where this conflict is, that organizations wrongfully thought that we will continue to forgive and tolerate this thing forever. And most of us are saying no. And then you compound the fact that the epidemic also made us crankier, to use the nicest word I could use. And people are fiery. Forget that whole grace and forgiveness. We're now in this place where we are screaming mad. But I just want to point out, it started before COVID. Companies made the wrong calculation that we will continue to tolerate it. And now we, the consumers, are saying, no, 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 no. I am paying full price. In fact, there's inflation. I'm paying more for this. Included in those prices, there will be somebody there at the checkout counter. There will be someone who answers the phone. And they somehow think they can continue to get away with it.
Well, that's also too, I think now that you bring that up, the famous phrase, we're embracing the new normal. There was so much hidden agenda, I guess, behind the new normal on that, because it was that attempting to have companies, have consumers embrace these new standards. And I like how you mentioned the checkout counter, because when I had first moved down to Florida, it was during COVID. I walked into CVS and I would just wait there. No one's at the checkout counter. I'm waiting. And then eventually, like, the stock person from the back sees me waiting. I'm like, hey, is somebody here to check me out? And they're like, no, it's all self-checkout. And there's zero people actually working the cash registers. Even if there's workers available to work them, the line is only for the self-checkout. And they almost like put up guards against the cashiers, and it's not the on-site employees' fault. You know,
Right.
it's the management, which I we all do, I think, know that, but our frustrations, I feel like, will overtake ourselves at the time, because we just have to let it out. And there's been times, I mean, I'm guilty of it myself, where you end up saying to the worker, like, is this the new policy? Because if I'm checking out, there's been times where I'm checking out maybe a pack of beer, and I know it's going to ask,
For an ID.
yeah, it's going to ask for ID. The thing's going to go off, and I'm going to have to wait now for somebody in the back to look and see this light, come over, check my ID. And it's not, I'm paying for this product that used to include the person working it. You know what I'm saying? So that, it kind of,
that example really lays it out, Dale. There's a social contract we had with companies. It's unspoken, sometimes it's written, right? So I go to, let's stay at that Walgreens. If you go read Walgreens brand promise, right, it basically says we will help you lead better lives and all this flowery stuff. That's what got me in the store. But behind the scenes, I'll tell you like a real story. It's not Walgreens, but it's one of your favorite brands. And they brought me in and they said, hey, look, listen, we're spending too much money on customer service and cashiers and all of this. And I'm a customer of their brand. I'm going, that's not the impression I'm getting. I think they're not spending enough. And so
that's exactly
it. They bring the economics and they go, well, listen, why you're here is we think that there's an opportunity to cut cost on customer support. And I cannot believe my ears, because I am a customer of this deal. I'm sharing this with your audience so that you kind of get the way companies think about customer support. I already have your money. So I've already taken your dollars. From here on out, anything else I give you is just eating into my profit. You may not like me saying this, but this is the reality. And so as we went down in that journey, so I said, okay, fine, I'll bite. How can we sort of do this? And when we got in there, we got into the self-checkout part of the experience. And what we do is we do customer journey mapping. So I go in, I want the executives to see from the customer's point of view what this experience would look like. And we get to the self-checkout and we are just showing how painful it is. And then they're like, well, how many people will stop coming here because of this?
That's exactly it. Yep.
That's the question I got. I even got and showed them data about theft, right? About people will, self-checkout is the most notorious things for stealing. And they still didn't back down because they did this math that says, hey, look, if 5% of people steal, if we lose a 5% shrinkage, what's that number? That number is still lower than hiring 3 more cashiers in here.
Oh,
and this is now where what I tell people is you are not fighting against this. You're fighting against fundamentally my profession has done a bad job of telling CEOs the customer support, customer service is not this nice to have. We do say it's cheaper to keep a customer than to get a new one, but clearly no one believes that. You know how I know that, Daniel? My counterparts in marketing, I do some marketing work as well. You know the famous slogan in marketing? It says, 50% of the dollars I spend on marketing is wasted, but I don't know which 50%. But yet, there is no CEO who's cutting their marketing budget. They know they're wasting half of it. But when they need savings, they go to customer support. It's not the ads that are going to get cut. This is the area. And we know it, and we have the data that customer support is the thing that keeps people loyal. But we've not convinced, I'm afraid to say, me and people of my ilk have not convinced the CEO yet that this thing is nothing more than an inconvenience. And that's the math they keep making and saying, yeah, Daniel's going to be in there and he might wait a little while, but will he really stop coming to Walgreens over this? We'll throw some coupons at him.
Yeah. It's such, I mean, that way of thinking from a CEO standpoint, I think is just, it's awful. I think it's even un-American because you're not thinking in their mindset, and it's not, sometimes consumers do have unreasonable expectations, but that is a reasonable expectation. But from the consumer's mindset too, they're also thinking about the dollar themselves, because I go into McDonald's, right? Okay, you've eliminated cashiers and now I'm ordering from the touchpad, right? So in my mind, you've eliminated a $15 an hour job probably three ways. And now they're even implementing more ways to make sandwiches by themselves. Okay, great. So that means the food's going to go down in cost, right? And then it doesn't. It actually starts to increase. And now I'm going, wait a second. You're cutting off like the cashiers and the people that I need help to order, and the food's going up. Like I'm losing twice now, because I could understand if there was a cost cutting measure that also helped me, but like when it all is just going to the company in every single way, it's such an awful model of approach. And I'm a very reasonable person where I'm not like too pro consumer. I've worked for a company that has done, very customer service heavy and very, the famous line of, from looking at the budget, or are we budgeted for that? And I've seen that end. So I have a very, very even keel with this. And there are some things that are just really unreasonable. And I think now what's really bad is that the consumer and the companies are both focused now on the unreasonableness, which is driving people insane.
You're spot on. So what's really happening now is, someone asked me to kind of, when I was preparing for this, I was started thinking, how do I frame this? I think it's like, you can think about a married couple where you have a fight over the dishes if you've been in a relationship with your girlfriend, and you have like a 2-hour-long fight over someone left a dish on the counter. Well, the fight is not about the dishes.
No.
Right? You think you're having this fight. The reason we are all this agitated, it's not about the thin. It's not about this thin. It's this buildup of, I can't call you anymore. Yep. You've put all of this. The prices are going up. You've eliminated these jobs. Oh, by the way, I live in this community, so I'm not some stranger. I know that my cousin used to work at this cashier. I know very well that I have a 18-year-old, a freshman in college now. I know how difficult it was. He happens to be looking for a job at that age where we all found our first jobs during COVID. So in like 2020, he was a junior, what have you. And so I know that experience that he couldn't find. It was tough for him to find that deal. So I boil all of that up. Yes, damn right. I am so angry over this one last thing, but we're not fighting over that one thing. And I want to just go back again for people to kind of get this full picture, that the other thing that tends to get missed in all of this beyond the economic part is the reason for customer dissatisfaction is also because there's two parts to it. There is your expectations, and then there's what they deliver. On the expectation side, the commercials, the promises are getting loftier and loftier and loftier.
They're insane.
Every time I watch an ad, I go, what do they sell? Are they selling sneakers? They're promising me I'm going to be floating on cloud 9 and my life is going to be beautiful. And they keep promising more and more and more, setting up their service employee like there's that perfect picture of that burger. And then I show up and I get the thing that looks like it's been sat on. So the promises are getting more.
It might have been.
It's all right. But then the thing you're delivering is getting less. So it's not like they're coming out and saying, hey, you know what, temper your expectations. No, the marketing departments are setting us all up. And then that poor service employee, I'm here to get the thing I saw in the ad. And I get here and it is like the friggin' opposite. That's part of what is also setting us up for this disappointment we get over and over again.
Yeah, it is. And I'm glad you made that point, because I used to work at a property management company that was, in one of the top 3 property management companies in the country when it comes to providing, quote unquote, like a 5-star service to luxury rental communities, where these are, high rises, 50 plus floors, pool, gym. So these websites look like Ritz-Carlton, like world style resorts, and they're purposely making them that. And a former company, the term that they used over and over and over again was sanctuary. This is your sanctuary where you're living. That was their brand standard term to always use. So when we're putting that on the website, people, that's the expectation. When people are walking in, they are expecting a 5-star experience. And the thing is, to walk you through from that customer service perspective, they walk in, the very first person they see at the front desk, a lot of the times, they third party the concierge. So it's not their own people, it's third party through unions, which I mean, they're really good guys and whatnot, and nice guys, but they're not that New York City doorman that's been being a doorman or a bellman for 25 years. And that is their profession. They take pride in it. They're opening the doors with white gloves type of service, and then they get escorted up to us. And, if they end up moving in, the chances are that somebody on their floor is going to, if there's 10 apartments on that floor, 1 or 2 people there are going to be smoking pot, which the pot smell carries. One person there on that floor is going to have a pit bull that's listed as an emotional support animal. So although animals are not allowed, they get on this elevator, they smell pot their first day, and they see a pit bull, and they go, wait a second, smoking's not allowed. It's in the lease, and animals are not allowed. And actually, the pit bull is on the restricted breeds. And now all of a sudden, they're looking at us going, why aren't you enforcing this? And we do our best under the legal circumstances, but that expectation, it has already failed us before they even start. And it's almost us setting ourselves up for failure, which is really sad. But at the end of the day, the people posting this stuff on the website, they're not the ones feeling the consequences and dealing with it. It's like you said, the numbers are going to, once it hits the reviews, it's different.
Exactly. I mean, it reminds me of back in 2009, I was running a global service organization when we sold flowers. So it was Valentine's Day. And on this Valentine's Day, there was a storm, what have you. I had 100,000 disappointed customers. So my name is on the emails that tells people that their thing is canceled. I mean, I got death threats to my deal. Like, my wife is leaving me now because of you. And I'm thinking, I don't think that's what it is. I don't think it was this flower.
Yeah.
It was the whole secretary thing. But anyway, my wife is leaving because of you. But while that was going on, my colleagues in marketing had posted a beautiful thing. It's not too late to order more flowers. You don't know how.
No.
You don't know how I am on the phone screaming at this woman. She was a colleague of mine, just because I'm going, what are you doing to me here? Like, and of course you should go see the comments, which my team had to respond to. So you're right. It's this whole push and pull between what the expectations are, what the reality is. But Daniel, I wanna go a little bit and talk about positives here, because I think it's important.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about this brand promise. Let me highlight, I don't have any affiliation with them, never done anything with them, but let's start Costco. I think Costco is an example. Whatever you might think about Costco fulfills its brand promise.
I would say, yeah, before you were going to say, I was going to say, I have had good experiences with Costco consistently.
Exactly. They promise very little, but you know what? They've done studies looking at their prices and adjusted for inflation, and it's tracks below inflation consistently. Till this day, the dollar hot dog and soda and whatever is still there. And they fight for you, the customer. They squeeze their suppliers' heads to make sure they deliver that brand promise for you. So if Costco eliminates some checkout lines and give me some self-checkout line, you know what? Consumers are sophisticated. I go, you know what? This hot dog has been $1, whatever, $1.50 since I was 10 years old. That was, 30 something years ago. You know what? I'm fine. I will take this. It's the everyone else, most companies, where you just take advantage of this thing, but instead you raise prices. So I think when it comes to customer service, I know we're going to get to how people can fight back, but I think the fundamental promise has been broken. Like every other institution in America, whether it's the church, whether it's politics, there was a social contract we had together that you were going to make some profits, but you were going to deliver a product, service was included, and it was going to be good, and you were going to employ people. That was an implicit thing. And if you were going to get savings, yes, take some of it from profit, but pass some of it on to me. But now we've broken that, and now it's this one-way street where people don't feel as loyal anymore to the brands they do business with.
Yeah, a little tug of war action, especially, and I feel like companies too, for them to walk away as a success, they should not be. I mean, at the very minimum, they should not really have any full impact on their customers' daily life during that day. They should almost be like the referees. Like a good referee in a basketball game or a football game is one you don't even know is there. They're just there doing their job, and there's no ref, you suck. Oh, those refs cost us a game. Just like customer service, eventually you're gonna have some customers that do, like, regardless of what it is, they're gonna be belligerent, just like you do have the belligerent fans that will say whatever. But at the end of the day, you walk out of a basketball game not knowing the refs are there. They've done their job. And companies really, when somebody goes to the store and leaves, and that company's not even on their mind, that is a good job, and that's being the minimum. You're right. We should switch seats. Like the book I wrote before waiting for service was called, you know what it was called? No One Wants Customer Service. And what I say is exactly what you said. I said the best customer service you ever had, you wish it didn't happen. Yeah.
And so like you really don't. So it's like, and if it does happen, you want it, to your point, to just be so inconsequential. It shouldn't be this whole thing. I work in this profession, and I should not, if everything comes down to it and I have to dial a 1-800 number, the first thing I look around for is, are there any small children around?
Yeah.
Because I know there's going to be profanity coming out of my mouth, because I already know. As soon as I dial 1-800, I'm going to be talking to this machine.
And you're yelling, representative.
Exactly. And I'm going to, did you not effing hear me? And it shouldn't be that way. It should just be this this passive thing. So I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, no, and it is. I mean, it is freaking tough. I'm not gonna lie. And I get it from the company standpoint too. It's the consumers are giving companies ammo at this point to be like, this is why we put in these steps. Because I mean, at my job, like where I was working, we were actually asking for us to never have face-to-face interactions with our customers again, because things got physical at points, you know? And so then you're giving, so we're going even deeper down this road in a bad way, because now companies are going, wait a second, we need to think of customer employee safety at this point. And that's why, and those are legitimate concerns now. So it's almost like, you know, one side to end this rivalry, one side is just going to have to be like, you know what, we're here. We're going to fix this. We're going to go back a little bit normal, but we do need your cooperation. And here is what we are going to do. And now this is the expectation from you. And I can't really name a company that has done anything publicly like that just yet. But I mean, hopefully somebody does take the lead. And I would like to know, from your perspective, what are you typically seeing when you're in these meetings with companies where it's like, all right, obviously huge problem, you know, customer service, huge problem. You guys called me. So it's, you know, it's kind of like the doctor's office. You know, you don't just go to the doctor's office just to say hi. We got a problem here. What typically are some responses that you're seeing from companies in terms of implementing a fix?
Look, I want to give people hope, and I'm going to highlight some brands here. I think there are companies who get this. Zappos gets it. Discover gets it. And by the way, as I said in my intro, I'm a technologist. You know, that's where I started. I'm an engineer, so I don't hate technology. So when I say they throw technology, it's bad technology we hate. Yeah. And so what the best companies try to do, let's take Discover, for example. What they try to do is be very thoughtful about where to apply human, where to apply technology. So Discover has a fantastic app. So if you think about you and me, if you needed $20 right now to pay someone, you may even drive to the bank or go to the bank, and you will walk by all the tellers and go to an ATM and get $20, because it's just a simpler process. That is technology. You love that. That's easier than talking to the dealer or what have you. But on the other hand, you want to make a deposit of a cashier's check. You're not messing with the ATM. The ATM claims it can do that, but you're not doing that there. So, you know, those companies were interested in to do technology where it makes the most sense. Things like, I want to check my balance, what have you. But you know what else Discover does? Discover says, when you call me, you're going to talk to a human, United States based. I have nothing against, I've traveled all around the world.
Very important, yeah.
They've said, my customers have made it clear to me, I want an American, not because of anything, not xenophobia, but because we can connect and we have idioms. We can talk about the shows we watched last week and all of those things. And so for their customers, when you call, there's no all this 1, 2, 3 talking to a robot. They just get your deals. This is one of the largest companies on earth. So yeah. I think there are companies that are going to get it. And I'm going to make a prediction on your show here.
I love it.
We are going to have a revolt. You're going to start seeing companies start doing the counterculture. Start saying, come to our place, and we actually want to talk to you. We want to build an emotional connection to you, because the danger in turning everything into this whole sterile thing is I have no emotional connection to the kiosk. You know, I guess you could have had a bot ask me these questions, but I'm not going to like this bot. You and I now have a relationship, right? Because I'm looking at you, and I feel like you and I, if I flew down there, could have a beer together. And you know what? Now I am now a loyal person to you. If you take that out, if you take the customer service, the human to human thing out, you miss. So my advice to companies has always been, think about the technology as an assistant to your employees, not a replacement for your employees. So no one wants to flip burgers. like if you can take all the stuff the employees don't want to do anyway, have machine assist them, but by gosh, don't let me place an order with a bot in the drive-through. Have that guy ask me how my day went. What about that game? We live in the same damn community, for Christ's sake. You're missing out on an opportunity for me and Joe at the drive-through from different races, different socioeconomic backgrounds, and we are bonding. But you know what? I want to come back through here so I can talk to. I'm not coming back here to listen to another robot.
Yeah.
You can use all the technology you want to, assist the human, because the people companies have failed the most, believe it or not, is not just us, the consumers. They have failed their employees. If you think you dislike that company, go to Glassdoor and look at what their service people are saying. Look at what the cashiers are saying. They're saying the same things you are, and even worse. They usually dislike that company more. That's why their turnover is so high. They can't keep anyone because the companies don't get it. But I think a revolution's coming because everyone instinctively kind of gets that this isn't working. I can't keep doing this anymore.
No, yeah, I like the Glassdoor approach that you said, because that's what I did a few times, and it does. I mean, at the minimum, it catches the attention of people, because I'd say the elders in the company, not meaning age, but the higher ups, they pay attention to that online branding. And to go back to your point too, of when they like talking to Discover, saying, they want to prefer an American that they're speaking to, there is a valid point behind that, because most of the time the companies are gonna put their tele customer service agents out in India, and
call centers and all that stuff.
And especially with banking, for example, like India primarily uses the State Bank of India. People primarily use that bank. So if the bank is state ran, you know what I'm saying? Like, people don't have an option over there to like, oh, well, I'll just go to your competitor. You know what I'm saying? So those customer service agents aren't going to be used to somebody saying on the other line, well, screw you, Discover. I'll just go to, another company. They're going to be like, okay, then go. You know what I mean? Not that they're trained not to say it, obviously, but they're not going to have that same understanding because of that culture, because it is just differently. And that's a good point. I'm surprised Discover, I'm glad to hear that, because it is refreshing to hear a company say that they are listening to their customers, and they do want to keep things demographically based with their demographics. Because I mean, you're matching up your customers with your employees, and that's just you're aligning yourself up for successes as best as you can.
There's an incentive there, though. Listen, Visa, MasterCard probably think, what else are you going to do? Discover probably feels like they're an underdog, and by the way, they're growing like crazy. This strategy is working for them.
Good.
They think, hey, look, you guys are taking these customers for granted. You feel like you can do whatever you want. They're not an underdog, they're multi-billion, but you get my point. They're saying, hey, we see an opportunity here to build strong ties with this customer. I, by the way, happen to be a Discover customer. I haven't done any business with them but I watch them and I see what they're doing. And you know what? It's working for me, because I trust them. I listen and I pay attention and I trust them. And you know what? I'll do more business with them because of that.
Yeah. I mean, it comes full circle. It really does. And I want to make sure we get your thoughts on the most important thing, I think, out of this conversation, because I doubt a lot of CEOs are going to be listening to this, even though they freaking should. They should. It's probably going to be mainly consumers. What advice really would you give to a consumer that is just fed up with a certain store, a certain brand? What advice would you give them to do full swing?
Great question. I think first step, take it easy on the service employees. And I know that person is also catching an attitude. I'm telling you, it's because he or she, you are the 10th person to tell them how stupid this thing is. And they agree with you, but now they are the face of this thing. So give them a little bit of grace. But putting that aside, avoid technology for anything complicated. And here's what I mean by that. The reason why every single company, at times even your local company, has this press 1, press 2, is because we've all kind of given up on the fight and we've just said, F it, we're going to use it. But I assure you, someone does this for a living, the more of us opt out of it, that's a feedback loop that forces the organization, whether it's that kiosk, if it sucks, avoid it, go somewhere else, ask for a human until they give you something. If it does not meet the standard of an ATM, I go and I take 20. If it's not that easy, ditch it, because let me tell you what happens. They always show me data when I go to the company and I go, this thing sucks. They tell me 8 million people used it last year. Well, and so that reinforces this. But if no one's using it, they're paying for it, they'll do something different. Number two, skip the frontline person. When you have an issue like that, go all the way to the top. There are websites that make it easy for you to find the email of all the executives, the CEOs. And I know this seems like a deal, but we all need to do our part. This is an epidemic. And if you're struggling writing it, find one of the generative AI bots to actually write the email for you. Just tell them, write me an email to whatever, or just write an email to the CEO and the executives, the whole thing, send one email, what have you. That guy, that lady, when they get thousands of this, by the way, when you do this, almost guaranteed you're going to get what you want within reason, because they're going to forward the email and say, make this guy go away, because they know you're going to keep emailing. Yeah. You're not going to get a reply from them. You get a reply from one of their deputies, but you'll get things done. And then utilize social media, but don't use social media the way you're using it today. Don't just go on there, open your DL to your 100 followers or that. No, tag the company, tag the CEO, tag all of them, and make your complaint and your voices heard loud and clear. And I know I'm going to lose everyone under 40 on this thing, but snail mail actually works. Letters, like if it gets that serious, write an actual letter, type it up, put it in the envelope. I know, but you're going against the grain and you're going to get attention. So those are some things I want you to then keep in mind. And then while you are in that store, again, don't berate, bring the front person, the frontline person on your side, and ask as senior as you can go. And if they say that person's in corporate headquarters, get their name, then walk out of there, don't be there, and then go home. I know this sounds like homework, but if enough of us do this, they do react to economic pressure. And last but not least, please vote with your wallet. Because at the end of the day, do you know why the cable company and all of them and your internet company keeps doing what they're doing? What else are you going to do, right? If we start showing that we're willing to switch, if Walgreens believed, you know what, you're going to go support the local pharmacy, if they really believed you on that, they will change. So always vote with your feet as much as you can, because I'm sick of seeing the restaurant that everyone hates, the store that everyone hates. I see long lines in front of them, and I see the shop that everyone gives 5 stars and says is great. There's no one there. And it sort of goes, do we really want good service? Do we really reward and penalize? I'm not trying to blame us consumers here, but we bear some responsibility in making sure we use our power. We're not powerless in this. We have our wallets, and we have our voice.
And even I love those suggestions, by the way. They're really, really good, very truthful too. And I think even too, like if you have a bad experience at Walgreens and you end up going to CVS or a local pharmacy, you can, take a picture of your receipt or something and then tag Walgreens or CVS and be like, hey, you missed a customer, which sounds, and the one thing too that I do want to like kind of put a cap on is the term to describe people who stick up for themselves as Karens, because there was a need for it. There really was a need for it. There still is a need for it if things are unreasonable. But, I see so many times too, here's a Karen coming, calling the manager. It's like, well, they're charging Karen $10 for something she didn't pay for. That's not cool. You're the loser for paying for something you didn't buy, and you're making fun of Karen.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because the only bad Karens are the one beating up on the guy or gal who's making $12 an hour. Those are the only ones I have no patience for. But you call them whatever you want, who is actually like, I'm going to escalate this thing, bring me someone who is in charge. they're doing you and me a favor, right? They're doing you and me a favor because someone's got to tell someone high enough. You just taking it and going home because you want to be a nice guy or nice gal. You're not changing the system. As long as you don't berate that poor person who literally has no control, no anything,
no say,
and you go up, we need more Karens like that, because I am telling you, if the thing that always surprises people that I say when I talk about this is, I basically say consumers are full of shit, if you will. And what I mean by that is we complain, then we go back. We complain. It's like an abusive relationship. Like we complain, we go to the same brands, because I promise you, the day some of these brands start to see a decline in their deal, right? They will change, and they have. Look at your governmental services.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put them as a king of this, but you're even seeing them starting to react to this, because when COVID happened, people couldn't get their benefits, people didn't get that. There was pressure on them, and they've started to make small incremental changes. And yes, we need more thoughtful Karens who direct their fire to the man upstairs, not kicking someone who's already down.
Yeah, and one thing too, like the podcast is called No Politics, and with that though being said, this is a perfect example of everyone screams about politics. I hate these politicians, or blah 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 blah. You continue to vote. And
for the same two parties.
Yeah, for the same two parties. And it's like, there might not be another party or there, but like not voting, guess what? I'm not giving them I'm not taking the lesser of two evils, how people say now. Don't give anyone evil. Don't give them. Just stay home. And guess what? When like 100,000 people vote out of like 380 million people that are eligible, guess what? There might be a change. People might go, oh, wait a second. We have to do a whole new voting now because no one shares this. Like that would be my dream for that to happen, where people come together and go, you know what? This is not you're like, however we are, none of you are doing what you've promised people, just like companies promise consumers. So we're done. And people do need to start sticking up for themselves and stop like walking away with their tail under their legs.
I couldn't agree with you more. I want to say the first ever recorded complaint that we know of was in 1750 BC. It was carved on a rock, and it was this customer who was complaining about the quality of copper he got. 1750 before Christ. That was the first customer service complaint written. He wrote like 400 words on this rock.
400 words. That is a lot in rock writing.
He was not happy because the quality of copper he thought he was getting wasn't it. I bring that up. That was 2,000 years before Jesus Christ. And we're now in 2023. And I think that hasn't changed. That for time immemorial, companies promise something and something else gets delivered. And for time immemorial, we as consumers have always gone back and said, hey, this is not what we want, and then demanded change. I think now is no different. We have better tools. You have better ammunition. You can reach anyone now. Before, the CEO used to be, you can contact anyone at any point. And all I am simply saying is it's a data game in these rooms. And if more and more data, if I'm a CEO of insert company here, and all of a sudden every week I'm getting 400 deal, you know what? I'm firing some people. You know what? Changes are coming because I'm feeling it. But there could be tens of millions of you yelling at my frontline staff. It doesn't affect me at all. They're just a number on the deal. And when I start doing that, you're going to start seeing change. We are not powerless in this, right? We have a voice. Who's paying all of this? It's your wallet. It's your money that you get to spend. It's your voice. And I think we can demand change. And I think you look at the surveys. There's a rage survey now, Daniel, that they do that talks about the rage is getting to a boiling point. that
Yep.
I think eventually change will come.
Yeah, I mean, we can only hope, and appreciate the work that you do, Amos, because it goes a long way, and you're fighting for fairness. I mean, you're working for companies and for the consumer just to have go back to a normal system, of like respect and high quality and matching expectations. So appreciate you coming on, Amos. I have some information at the bottom of the screen here if you guys are watching on YouTube, where you can find Amos and his work and his books. Where if somebody from a company, like a CEO, is watching this going, oh man, I need to have this guy, I need to talk to him to get my customer service fixed, where can they find you? And also, when can we expect your next book?
Yeah, so I am on LinkedIn. My son says I am on the uncool social media. My ad is at Amos Tenumah on all social platform, Instagram, what have you, but I primarily hang out around LinkedIn. I'm working on my next book. It's going to come out this fall. I'm pretty excited, and I'm really pivoting to talking to consumers now. I feel like on the corporate side, I've given it, my blueprint is out there. People know my philosophies, and I work with lots of companies there. But I'm looking forward to connecting more. That's why I'm so glad I'm on your show, because I feel like if I share with people what goes on behind the scenes, it helps them in being able to articulate what changes they're demanding. So please, I am so thankful to have you on, and for all your listeners, I'm around. I'm on Twitter. I am on LinkedIn, Instagram. LinkedIn is generally where I hang out, but contact me on all social platforms.
All right. Well, sounds good, Amos. Appreciate everything you do, and hopefully we link up down the road when this all gets fixed.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Daniel. This has been awesome.
Yes, sir.